Good evening. It's 6:30. I'd like to call the committee of the whole for the Village of Cary for July 7th, 2020 to order with roll call, please.
McAlpine?
Here.
Collier?
Here.
Betts?
Here.
I will, I guess, enter a recommendation to allow trustees Cavelli, Weinhammer, and Kraus to attend via teleconferencing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We will now open public comments, and anybody like to, we got one person here, no comments? Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and close public comments at 6:31. Let's talk about amendments to the Parks and Recreation section of the Municipal Code for Cary Lake at Rotary Park. Eric, you going to take this?
I think Courtney.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
I am pleased to report that we've had some great feedback over our first season with Rotary Park open to the public. We have observed firsthand, and I'm sure many of you experienced, a lot of use in the trail systems, a lot of fishing and kayaking out there at the park. So far it's been a great start to the first year here. But with that, we've also had some feedback from staff, from trustees, and from the public, which is kind of part of our overall process that we envisioned when we enacted the park use rules, that it would be a fluid process and that we would adjust them depending on the needs and our experiences as we move forward. So with that, the primary feedback that we received overall has been related to two main areas. The first one was regarding the ability to fish from watercraft at the park. And as you see in the slides there, I'll go back up. Thank you. With regards to fishing, the main comment that we received was the ability to fish from kayaks, and our current rules specifically designated that fishing was only to be done from the signed piers and shorelines at the park. Given the ability for a lot of kayakers to fish from the boats, we do feel like this is kind of in spirit with the intent of our ordinances, and it does provide still a safe means for fishermen to get out there and enjoy the opportunities that we have there. So we do recommend approving this First Amendment, which would then allow fishing from the non-motorized crafts that are approved and outlined for use on the lake.
Any feedback for staff regarding this?
And it's great.
I think it's positive steps in the right direction.
Yep.
This is in line with what we've been led to believe all along, that we would be doing this when we had our initial discussion. So it's great.
And we still have the winter operations. I think we got some slides for winter operations as well.
Oh, we did. I thought we had. Okay.
And then the next major category of feedback that we received was regarding the limits of the dates and hours of operation. Currently, the park use code says that the park would be open from April 1st through October 31st, which in essence made it a spring, summer, and fall season for the park. A lot of feedback from the public was that there was a desire for it to be open year-round. So with that consideration, there would be a need for some adjustment to the code to incorporate some new winter regulations for those periods of the year from November through March, when the park might be snow-covered and the lake would likely contain some form of freezing and ice. So based on some research from park use rules from surrounding agencies, such as the Cary Park District, Conservation District, and others, we have recommended 5 provisions for the winter regulations to allow it to be open year-round. The first would just change the dates to allow it to be open year-round, and specifically the winter operation covering those months in which the temperatures might be colder. Second would be to allow the use of the trail system during the wintertime, which would basically consist of cross-country skiing or snowshoeing. And then when that is done, then it would be allowed only on the designated trails and not in the other areas of the park where it might not be either safe or beneficial to the vegetation that would be beneath the snow. Third would be the restriction to not allow people to enter the water area, whether it be the frozen waters or any part of the lake during the winter months, specifically to make sure that people aren't skating, sliding, walking, or ice fishing on the waters, given that we don't have the year-round monitoring of that facility, and that the thickness of the ice might be highly variable, just given the fact that this lake has several variations in depth. Some areas are quite shallow and other areas are significantly deeper. So the predictability of that ice is not consistent. So we don't recommend allowing that use from a safety perspective. Provision D also kind of ties to the safety aspect of keeping people off the ice, and that would include use of watercraft and other devices on the ice. And then lastly, we would also recommend not allowing sledding in the facility during the winter months. Again, this is given the fact that we don't have a designated area that was designed for this purpose, and many of the sloped areas that people might want to try considering to use for sledding do lead towards the water and the ice. So with that, we're happy to entertain the committee's feedback on these provisions, and if there is the consensus to move forward, we can bring this back at the next meeting of the Village Board of Trustees for approval and amendment to the code.
I do have a question about the trails. Are we going to be plowing the trails at all, or are we like for walking in the winter?
That would be something that, if we are keeping it open for the winter months, it would require us to occasionally lower the height of the snow, just to ensure that people would have a chance to either walk or snowshoe or cross-country ski in those areas.
So you do like half and half?
So with that, there will be some operational adjustments that we'll have to consider. Like many aspects of this park, we're new to the park operation business, so there'll be some trial and error involved. But it would be one of those operations, much like our pedestrian way snow removal. It would be something that, with our current manpower and equipment, would be done after the conclusion of our roadway snow and ice operations.
Any other questions?
No, I like the idea that we're making some of these adjustments. I think that was the goal when we opened it, to say, let it get going, see where we're at, reevaluate, make some changes. I think these are positive changes that are listening to what our residents are asking for, and that we're able to meet those requests.
Thank you. Since everybody seems to be in favor of this, we'll put this on the next consent agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to a discussion on ordinance amending section 1032-010, limited parking of the municipal code for 15-minute limited duration parking on various streets within the downtown district.
Thank you, Mayor. So as part of the evolving recovery process for the COVID-19 pandemic, the Village of Perry and each of our departments has been very busy trying to find ways to help support our local businesses and our residents through the process of the recovery. One of the most recent items that we've been reviewing and assessing is the opportunity to adjust some of the 15-minute parking spaces. We have some very short-term limited parking spaces in our downtown district. And given the fact that we have currently a portion of Spring Street closed for what we're calling the Alfresco Alley, the outdoor dining area just south of West Main Street, it has created, I think, a potential need to help enhance the operations of local businesses for short-term parking. This could be for multiple uses, whether it be curbside carryout from the dining aspect for restaurants to short-term pickup and deliveries for the retail operations and some of the service businesses that are located in downtown. So we're viewing these relocated parking spaces as an opportunity to help the wide variety and help as many of the downtown businesses as possible. So what you see before you on the screen is a recommendation for 3 adjustments to those 15-minute parking space locations. The first would be, Courtney, if you could advance the slide, the relocation of the 15-minute space located on the south side of West Main Street at Spring Street. So this is the space that we recently added, I believe, last fall. And at the time when Spring Street opened, it offered the opportunity to help kind of serve the entire block of West Main Street, as well as the businesses around the corner on Spring and Jandis, kind of centrally locating that space. However, with the temporary closure of Spring Street for the outdoor dining area, it has kind of fragmented that ability to serve all the businesses in that area. So we are suggesting that the first phase of this adjustment would be to move this space from the corner to mid-block, so a bit to the west, to the central location of that block. So that way it can serve the entire section of that corridor. So that space would be located roughly in front of the orthopedist office that's on that street. Second adjustment that was suggested is the addition of 2 new spaces at the corner of Jandis Road and West Main Street. So these would help serve not only the businesses further down along Jandis Road for short-term needs, but also to the dining establishments that could benefit from the curbside, or not curbside, but the carry-out operations that, while indoor dining has reopened with phase 4 of the recovery process, we anticipate there'll still be a strong demand for carry-out throughout the rest of the recovery. And then the last adjustment would be the removal of an older existing 15-minute parking space that is at the south end of Spring Street, just north of Jandis Road. And we're suggesting this because of that temporary closure of Spring Street, it does reduce the number of parking spaces that are available for those businesses on that corridor. So this would give the opportunity to revert it back to the current 2-hour parking limit, which currently exists. And that would be able to be shared once again by all those businesses in that south block. So with the proposal of this and the consideration of this change, we did send letters out to all the downtown businesses in the district and asked them for any feedback or concerns they might have with these changes. So from that letter, we received 2 responses. First response was supportive of the changes as proposed. They seem to appreciate the fact that it was supporting the different conditions and changing conditions that local retail and restaurants are having these days. And then the second comment only provided feedback specific to the relocation of the space on West Main Street. That business owner preferred to have it left in the current location, given that it was closer to their existing storefront, and they had observed some very positive benefits since the addition of that space, specifically during the busier times after 11 a.m. when the lunch crowd would tend to utilize a lot of the on-street parking. So as you can see, there's with the few comments we had, there's a wide or different opinion on some aspects of it, but as a whole, we do feel this would be a benefit to support the entire downtown district, and we welcome the committee's feedback on each of these proposals.
Thank you, Eric. Any comments from the board regarding these changes?
What if we can?
This is Trustee Kraus. Would we be able to keep the 2 on Main Street?
Yeah.
The one, we're relocating the 1 15-minute, but could we keep it, just add an additional 15-minute and keep the one that's already there?
That is definitely an option. The only caveat I would add to that is that given the loss of that northern block of Spring Street with the outdoor seating area, we do have far fewer 2-hour spaces available, so that would limit the number of parking spaces available for people that are visiting establishments, particularly for dining during the
okay, I'm starting to see what you're going at. Yeah, I understand that. Okay.
However,
Yeah, I'm in favor of the changes that you have here now.
but we do have parking that people can use in the railroad facility, in the metro parking area after 11:30. personally, like just sitting at Springs and Spring Seat in that closed street, people do come to the back of, or into Spring Street to pick up food. I could see that 15-minute parking close to Spring Street being used a lot more too. So,
Any other
And that was one
comments?
of the reasons we proposed the 2 additional spaces on Jandis Road, because those aligned actually with the front door of the 2 dining establishments, at least on that corner. And then the other relocated space did align with the tracks has their entrance that they utilize facing West Main Street, and align with that one as well.
because they use the side door now. Okay.
Any other feedback on this? Is everybody okay with
Yeah, I think I'm
these
good with it.
changes? And put this on the next consent agenda? Any issues with that?
Nope, I'm good.
Thank you. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss personnel, appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, Illinois 120/2C1.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There are no opposed. Give us a couple of minutes, we'll clear the room.
We're going to have to escort you out.